I'm in California. She's in New York. She's at the box office for Theater for the New City. And I'm trying to buy a ticket for my wife, right? Because tonight is the opening of, well, it's a staged reading or a reading, a virtual reading. If it were a staged reading, then we would all be on the stage reading. But, we wouldn't be well, in most stage readings I've seen, they just sit around by, next to some, music stands and they're reading. But this is a virtual reading and we're in costume and it's a little more, I think it's a better thing for people. So I'm buying a ticket for my wife. The conductor, Ishmael Reed's conductor, is tonight the virtual stage reading. Tickets are available at theaterforthenewcity.net. So I'm calling theaterforthenewcity.net because they pretended or they acted the software. It's always software. It's not the hardware. It's not the human heart. It's always like software. And the software said, you buy your ticket. You say, okay, you make a donation. I made a donation to Theater for the New City. But then the question is, how do you want your ticket delivered? And the only option was hard ticket. Hard ticket for a virtual show? I mean, I have to get to New York. This is confusing. And I'm of a small mind. So I had to call the box office and say, what's going on here? And the box office person says, well, we don't do virtual shows. We're live now, because the pandemic is over. And that's what stopped me cold. I said, the pandemic is not over. We have anywhere from 300, 350 people dying every day in this country, in the U.S. We've had more than 1 million people die in the last 2.5 years. The pandemic is not over. And we have people who aren't even vaccinated, people who don't even have the latest. You have to be at least 4 vaxxed, in order to be, considered protected. And now the 4th vaccine or the 4th booster or the 4th shot, the 2nd booster, it probably has waned. You got to get that 5th booster. And I got 5. We could do maybe a high five thing. I said, to promote the fact that to be totally protected, you should get that 5th shot. But most people aren't. And this woman who I was talking to said, well, the pandemic's over and, we're doing live shows now. And your show is one of the only virtual show we have. I said, well, I know, but I'm in California and, the show, I'm in the show. I didn't tell her that, but I'm in the show. I have a small part, but I'm in the show. Anyway, they fixed it. You can go and see Ishmael Reed's The Conductor. It's at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. But go get your tickets. Tickets are available at theaterforthenewcity.net. That's theaterforthenewcity.net. You can also call them and straighten things out. 212-254-1109. 212-254-1109. The conductor, the virtual reading opens today, October 13th, and then Friday, October 14th, Saturday, October 15th, all at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5, figure out the time wherever you are. It's virtual, so you can be anywhere. You can be in Manila, Philippines. And I wouldn't know how to, you'd have to consult your iPhone to see, well, what time would that be in Manila? Sunday, October 16th, the matinee at 3 p.m. Tickets $18. Call 212-254-1109. 212-254-1109 to see The Conductor. It's actually, it's an interesting show. It's interesting, it's entertaining, and I think I was talking to one of the actors who plays Imran, who plays Shashi Parmar, who is an Indian American who his character leads the recall of woke progressives on the San Francisco School Board. Basically, that's kind of the story they tell. But you go into that story, and of course, this being a play, this being an act of the imagination, there's a backdrop of an international incident in India, and suddenly things have changed for Indian Americans who happen to back the recall of woke progressives. It's an interesting twist. You'll get a lot of history. You'll get a lot of information. You didn't think, is that did that really happen? In history, and of course, many of us wouldn't know the history because the history isn't even taught for the most part. I mean, you've got to go deep to find out about Asian American history. Some of the Asian American history that comes out in this play, The Conductor. You've got to really find someone who's done a little more reading, like at the master's level or at the doctorate level. But in that way, the show is provocative. The show I understand that some people who were trying to lead the recall, I guess the opposite of a progressive is the regressives, right? So the regressives, conservatives, call them conservative. The conservative Asian Americans, I understand they're kind of upset. But they should, because they don't know the history, and they should know the history. You'll know the history. You'll know the story. You'll get a complete textured feel for that whole woke progressive recall that took place in San Francisco. Just catch The Conductor. Ishmael reads The Conductor. It's at theaterforthenewcity.net. Go there. It's a virtual reading, so you can be anywhere. California, Texas, Philippines. Catch the show. Buy a ticket, get a link, or you will get a link, and then see it. The virtual reading it's opening today, Thursday, but also we'll do it the 14th, the 15th, and there's a matinee on the 16th, which is Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Check it out. The Conductor. Ishmael reads The Conductor. 212-254-1109. You can call them if you don't want to deal with the internet. 212-254-1109. Call them. The Conductor. Ishmael reads Conductor starting tonight. And so I figured it out, or the person at the box office helped me. I called that number. And so my wife's going. I'm in the show. I have a brief, small role. I play a Fox News style commentator. So that's kind of a stretch for me. I mean, the opposite way. I'm a commentator, but I certainly not a Fox News style commentator. But I'm looking forward to it. And it's I have a very small role. But of course you're going because it's Ishmael reads The Conductor, and because it's this provocative. You don't see plays like this. You don't see plays about these topics. You don't see this kind of treatment for things that we should know about. And you'll get it if you buy a ticket to The Conductor. 212-254-1109. It's theaterforthenewcity.net. Starts tonight, goes on through Sunday. Check it out. And now what do you know? It's the 2 o'clock Pacific hour. This is my daily meditation. Hey, it's Emil. It's Emil Amok. Emil Amok to you. My takes on all things considerable. This is my micro talk show. I look at Asian American issues, or I look at issues and I give it that Asian American, is it spin, or I just look at it through my Asian American lens. This is episode 410. Welcome to the program. You can also check out my columns on the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund site, ALDEF, ALDEF, aaldef.org/blog. We talked about the conductor. I'm in it. But of course, you know the big news today. The big news today is January 6th. I watched them all. And if I missed one, I watched them on replay, and I watched them on C-SPAN, and because you can use the app and you go and get clips out of what different people have said. I have been glued to the January 6th hearings. They were supposed to have one when the big hurricane hit, and they canceled that, and they came back and they had to do one more. And of course, you got to do one more before the big midterms in November, and we are like a month away or so. So this information is important because once you get the timeline and once you understand it, you see how not just how deeply divided our country is, but how deeply in trouble our country is in because we are deeply divided. The scariest thing, and I've seen it all. I have to admit, I was kind of not with it, fully when they were going over the, then this happened, and here are all these people, the highlights. They were doing a highlight reel. I have seen most of them the first time around, and they had me at hello, right? They had me January 6th. They had me at January 5th. But so the problem was I was waiting for something new. And of course, the new thing was, number one, they're subpoenaing Trump. They've issued the subpoena, 9-0 vote. Everyone, especially I guess it's important that 2 Republicans voted, because this is not a witch hunt. Of course, the 2 Republicans are going off. Liz Cheney's given up her career because it's too important an issue. And of course, the Republicans voted her out. That's one of the problems. Adam Kinzinger, he's retiring, a young retiree, but there's also a sense that something's wrong with government. But the Republicans are going off. They voted the whole committee voted 9-0 to subpoena Trump because we got to hear from him. That's the whole thing behind what they laid out today. Again, as a refresher, the person who instigated all this is the commander-in-chief, the person who was president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. And now he has to answer for his actions. So that was the headline, that Trump gets subpoenaed. You'll see that. If you missed it, I'm just trying to help you get to the headline. But the thing that got me and that brought me back into the mindset of the hearings is to see the juxtaposition of the images of the violence and the video of Nancy Pelosi really taking charge, taking control. Pelosi, Schumer, Steny Hoyer, but mostly Pelosi on the phone trying to figure out where's the backup. There's senators who are in trouble. They need personnel to help them move to safety. How do we say to the Republic that our government is working and in order? Yeah, these are the leaders of Congress scrambling to maintain that sense of order, that sense of our government is not daunted by whatever those insurrectionists were doing. And to see the juxtaposition of Nancy Pelosi on the phone calling the governor of Virginia, calling the DOD, the Department of Defense, asking for reinforcements. That was like a committee of a commander-in-chief of the United States. You know why? Because the real commander-in-chief of the United States was essentially AWOL. Oh, he was back in the White House because he couldn't get to the Capitol. It wasn't safe for even the commander-in-chief, the former president, to go to the Capitol. He was back in the White House. And what was he doing? Watching television, admiring his handiwork like an arsonist at a forest fire. I mean, this is something that every American should see, because if you doubt the idea that our democracy is hanging by a thread, you see how threadbare it is when insurrectionists disrupt government, and you see the commander-in-chief doing nothing, but you see the heads of Congress trying to scramble to save our country, because that's what was at stake. Because if the insurrectionists had succeeded, they would have stopped a part of the democratic process. The election would have been, it would have been certified, and then we would have been in real chaos, and who knows what would have happened. But they survived. They got back into business. They certified the election, and you start seeing how Republicans, how even they got the seriousness of all this. You see Kevin McCarthy saying how this is it. This is the limit. And then, of course, now we see and we say, oh, God, what a hypocrite Kevin McCarthy is. What a hypocrite Lindsey Graham. What a hypocrite all those Republicans who on day one or of the day knew the threat and were damning Trump in the way they could. And then how quickly they whiplashed and reversed. And now we have a situation like we have now, where we have the midterm elections coming up in a month, and we have election deniers as a kind of cleaned up insurrectionists who do not buy the fact that Donald Trump lost. It's crazy. We lived in a crazy world briefly in January 6th, and then when we were able to certify the election, everything seemed to be righted somewhat. And then suddenly, over time from January 6th, crazy time again in the midterm. I mean, Donald Trump has been kind of rehabilitated by Republicans who should know better. And he is in control. And it's sickening when you see what he did on January 6th. So catch the video. It's unseen video. This is the first time. So that's what perked my attention, to see Pelosi and Schumer trying to save the country. And they did, which is why it just amazes me, the people who are so negative about Pelosi. She saved the country, because Lord knows how many people would have been killed if they didn't keep a cool head and try to figure out what to do next and how to get everyone back in session to certify the election. So thank goodness they were the commanders in chief that day, the heads of Congress, while Trump was back in the White House looking at things on television like an arsonist at a forest fire who just set off the fire, admiring his work. I'm telling you, watch the highlights of the hearing and watch that video, and you'll understand the thread by which our democracy hangs on. And it hangs on because people believe in the rule of law. People believe in what's right. People don't fight you to the death on issues. They come to an agreement. We're on the same team. We work together. We move together. For some people, that's too bipartisan. But we've gone full tilt the other way, where no one talks to each other. No one works with each other. We saw it there in that Pelosi video that they played on January 6th, where everyone was working together, mostly the Democratic leaders. But Mike Pence did his part in getting the certification done and completed. And where Donald Trump was back in the White House, trying to figure out, how am I going to finesse this and make this work so that I'm the winner? It's sickening. It's sickening to watch. And an Asian American moment, Elaine Chao, she's featured, one of the first, if not, I think she was the first cabinet member. Chao and Betsy DeVos, but they played Chao. Her face was out there at the hearing. And she was almost like a sense of, it gave a sense of assurance that, oh, well, we know what's right. There are people who are Republicans like Elaine Chao who say, this is ridiculous. She's resigning. This has no place in our government, this kind of insurrection led by the president, seeing the president's actions. I mean, that's the normal reaction, right? And that was the way it was for many Republicans for a couple of days. And then within a couple of weeks, forget it. It's like Kevin McCarthy, after saying damning things about Trump, ends up going back to Mar-a-Lago and kissing the ring. And then they have a cover story, a narrative. And that is the sad thing. Truly, that is the sad thing. They discovered the narrative that works for them, and my God, they've run with it. And now we're going to have an election. And we still have Donald Trump thinking that he might run again, 2024. But, there's some, thank goodness for the free press. Washington Post had an exclusive story about, how Trump directed a former employee or an employee to hide documents at Mar-a-Lago. This is after they got a subpoena, right? So that story was an exclusive by the Washington Post. So the Mar-a-Lago issue is still front and center, because that Mar-a-Lago issue, if Trump truly was directing an employee to hide documents after the Mar-a-Lago subpoena, that should be clear evidence that obstruction. I mean, I think one of the things from today's hearing, when they subpoenaed Trump to come forth and testify as to, what he knew, his words. I mean, you have all these people who testified before the January 6th committee, and they took the fifth. Now they got to hear from Trump. And Trump is already saying through a spokesperson that the committee will not intimidate him. Well, we'll see. Because back to the Mar-a-Lago documents, we got more reporting about the Mar-a-Lago documents from the Washington Post. And then today, you have the Supreme Court rejecting Trump request on Mar-a-Lago documents, which means, he can't rely on the court to bail him out. His buddies on the court aren't going to bail out Donald Trump. Not like the lower level judges who have seemed to do what they could to slow down and help Trump. The Supreme Court isn't going to touch the Mar-a-Lago request from Trump. So we'll see what happens. Trump is a big delayer, big denier, run out the clock. And there's the suggestion that all that happened today in the subpoena may not mean anything if nothing. I mean, it may not mean anything before the midterms. Nothing's done. May not have the kind of impact. So we have to cross our fingers and hope that people see this and that minds will be made up. Of course, we know minds aren't made. Minds have already been made up. Minds aren't going to be suddenly changed, which is the problem about these hearings. But this is what the January 6th committee had to do. I'm glad they did it. As I was watching, the thing that captured my attention is the government's falling apart because of the people Trump unleashed on the government. And just watching Pelosi and Schumer scramble on that video that previously has not been seen, it just makes you understand how much hate Donald Trump has for our country. How much hate, how much just a lack of respect Donald Trump has, not just for our country, but for our democracy. And that, more than anything, was the highlight today. Subpoena, 9-0 vote, yeah. The DOJ probably going to get the referrals from the January 6th committee. Hopefully it will mean something. But if there's little action before the midterm and the House flips over from the midterm, then that may be the thing that saves Donald Trump. And that would be a damn shame. Because after all this, we can see what he did. Who else? Donald Trump, his other cronies, Roger Stone. You know, I don't think there's a fall guy. Everything Trump does is to exalt him. He's the guy you go after. He's the guy they need to hear from. That's why he was subpoenaed today. But if the House turns over and the Democrats lose, then instead of a January 6th committee, it'll be a coronation time. And it'll be pretty much, I hate to be a doomsayer, but there are some Republicans who insist Trump has done no wrong. Trump is the person for 2024. And if that happens again, God save our democracy. It's God save our democracy. God save our democracy. So still time to act. Still time to do something. Still time to go out there, register to vote, and assure that by voting for the right people, democracy is upheld and the January 6th committee can continue, because there's enough to indict private citizen Donald Trump. There's enough to indict. And the DOJ Looks like they are primed to do that. And we need to see this play out. And only if people, citizens, voting citizens who watch all this and are so disgusted or are so moved that they want to save our country, you got to hope they'll do the right thing. And the right thing is vote. The right thing is to go out there to vote. The right thing is to go out there and to hope that we can go right to the source of the problem. And that is with an indictment of Donald J. Trump. That's it. Now, the other thing that bugs me today is I'll hear sports people, sports commentators, back Draymond Green like, oh, Draymond Green, we need him. Because the Warriors can't win without him. I heard local folks, Bay Area folks say, yeah, I'm going to back Draymond because without Draymond, we can't win. And it reminded me of the same thing as this Trump thing. The Republicans who back Trump feel that Trump is the only way Republicans win. So we need this guy who brought out the insurrection. So we need this guy, or they need their guy, Trump, to get the Republicans through. We need more Liz Cheney style Republicans because they know what's at stake. The democracy is at stake. Our country is at stake. But so many people have this, and a sports analogy is fine because that's where it comes from. It's a just win baby attitude that winning absolves all. And if Donald Trump is your winner, if Donald Trump can win, then that's the way you go. I got news for you. Donald Trump is a loser. Donald Trump cannot win if people who understand the law, people who understand the facts, people who understand the truth work together to make sure that Donald Trump is brought to justice, that Donald Trump is held accountable for what he did on January 6th. And instead, we see the Republicans splinter, and some people, election deniers, saying, well, we're backing Trump and we're election deniers because Trump is the winner. Although some are saying now, oh, maybe he didn't win, but we're still backing. I'm telling you, people have gone screwy during this Trump era, and we need to right the ship. And I think Trump as Draymond is, or Draymond as Trump is one way to look at the Draymond situation. Draymond sucker punched Jordan Poole, a smaller player, not in the heat of battle, at a practice. It was workplace violence. People who defend Draymond Green say, oh, well, these are sports guys. They play a tough game. Yeah, heat of battle. That was no heat of battle. If you see the video, TMZ's video, that was no heat of battle. He sucker punched, Draymond Green sucker punched Poole, very casually walking up to him. Poole shoves Green away out of self-defense. Green then punches him. That's not heat of battle. That's not, oh, I'm playing to win, and so in the heat of battle, I hurt someone. No. That was calculated sucker punch by Draymond Green, a workplace situation. And shame on the people who are so sports-minded. Oh, well, we can't win without Draymond. We need Draymond. We need Draymond. So, we got to deal with him. He's back today. He didn't get suspended at all. He's back today, Thursday. He's going to play tomorrow night, Friday. He gets his ring next week, the championship ring. The gold-blooded, cold-blooded is what it is. And that's sports. That's the way sports is. And so shame on the people who say, oh, Draymond Green, they're big athletes. They're aggressive. This comes out. In the heat of play, I understand, maybe, but in a practice, when you're clearly getting instruction from coaches and people aren't even paying attention to each other, and you just sidle up to Jordan Poole and give him a punch in the face. Jordan Poole could own the Warriors. Jordan Poole is going to get his money, his max extension, like $115 million. He's going to get it because otherwise he would be the new owner of the Golden State Warriors. That's how serious this is. And I think he knows it. So he's playing it cool. I think the Warriors know it too. So they're a little, but they should come down hard on Draymond. Believe me. He gets a love tap by he's getting a small fine and a little suspension. But it's sort of like the Republicans, how the Republicans are treating Donald Trump. Oh, Donald Trump. He could be president in 2024. He won that election. I'm telling you. Now people are denying the punch, I guess, in the Draymond. And it is an apt analogy. Because the bottom line for both, the only reason why Republicans like Trump is because they perceive him to be a winner. They can't win without him. This would not be a great country if that were the case. I mean, a great country can survive Donald Trump. You can't make excuses and say, well, we need to win with Trump and we need to forgive him his trespass. No. And so the sports guys, I'm a little disappointed. Local sports guys saying, oh, well, we need Draymond. What he did was okay. No, it's not okay. What he did was not okay. So it's affected my support of the Golden State Warriors. I at the beginning of the season, I was just so pro Poole, so pro Jordan Poole. It wasn't funny. I was thinking, God, he's gotten so much better each and every year because I watched him when he first got here. He was terrible. But he did something. He worked out. Started practicing his shots, started making his shots. So I'm a big Jordan Poole fan. Probably the best column I read was Tim Kawakami of The Athletic, who likened this to Asian American, Kawakami. He likened all this to a divorce. And this is the phase where you do a trial separation, although Draymond Green should have been suspended for more than, he wasn't suspended at all. He should have been suspended. But this is sort of the trial separation as they lawyer up and as they split off and go their merry ways. This is the dangerous thing about saying, oh, we're family. You know, we're such a family. Because bottom line is, you're not a family. You're a business still. Even though you want to have the best things about family, it's a business agreement. And isn't it frustrating if you're Joe Lacob and the Warrior owners, and you are the people who have enriched this man, Draymond Green, with millions of dollars? He wants a new max contract. He might get it. But, I mean, he's got $16 million a year for last few years. He's wealthy already, but he wants to be wealthier. He wants a total max contract. The Warriors could reward him, but not when he embarrasses them and not when he causes this kind of pain. So it is a divorce, and they're staying together for the kids. And the kids, Jordan Poole, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, and James Wiseman, the young Warriors. But that's why the divorce analogy is apt. But the Warriors are being a little too nice to Draymond Green. They should indicate just how bad a transgression it was to punch Jordan Poole. And I know I've been saying this. This is show 410. I've been saying it on show 409, 408, 407, 4. I've been saying it ever since it happened last week. But something about watching the Republicans, despite all the facts, just embrace Donald Trump and say he's our guy, that just made me think of the Draymond Green situation with the Warriors. And seeing all the sports commentators, national and local, saying, I'm backing Draymond. I'm going to back Draymond. Really? And all because they think it's the only way they can win, or they need him to win. They don't need him to win. They don't need Draymond Green to win. And look at Boston. Draymond was a liability there. I mean, he was good for the Warriors until he wasn't. And when he was a liability, he was on the bench. And the Warriors had to figure out another way to play without him. And they have. But they get sentimental. They get into this family mode instead of business mode. I'm telling you, no sympathy for the Warriors. They should know better. They should know better. And they should know about their fans. Their fans can see through this. The Athletic did a poll about the suspension of Draymond Green, and like 79% said much too light. Whatever happened to Draymond, he should have been given a suspension. So we'll be following this because he's back at practice today. He'll be playing tomorrow night, and then the ring ceremony on the 18th. I'd be surprised if something doesn't happen before too long. Maybe the league steps in, maybe someone to step in and say, look, let's right this ship and look at it for what it is. Because that's the thing about the Trump situation in January 6th. The January 6th committee have been the grown-ups saying, this is what's happened, this is what's going on. And the Republicans refuse. They denied January 6th, just like they denied the election. Of course, there are some good ones. Some good Republicans who say, hey, this is the truth. People like Liz Cheney, people like Kinzinger, people like the only Asian American who you see commenting on this, George Conway, half Filipino. But they're what Trump would call Republicans in name only, the rhinos. They're not rhinos. They're Republicans who believe in democracy. So they're there talking truth. We need people talking truth about Draymond Green. Otherwise, it's exactly analogous with the Trump situation. People say, oh, we can only win with Draymond. We need Draymond to win. No, you don't need Draymond to win. At least you don't need Draymond to win the important way. And that is what's at stake. All right. I'd like to go on, and I promised to go on, or I said I was going to talk about this, the LA City Council, but I'm gonna save this for tomorrow because it's interesting. I'm not from LA. I'm from Northern California. Northern Californians always have a chauvinistic bias against LA, and it starts with sports, right? And then, most of the liberals were in San Francisco, and then Northern California, all the conservatives were Orange County, Reagan, Nixon, LA. So I'll get into a little bit here in the event, I don't get to it tomorrow. But, the LA City Council has gotten all this. There was a recording made of city council members and LA Hispanic leaders and some labor leaders, and they're talking about redistricting and talking about how to get districts where Latinos could win. And they're talking about, well, which Latino could go up against this white candidate or this white incumbent. and it was racist talk. And unfortunately, this is the way people talk in real life. When you catch them in real life, they'll be slightly off color, i.e. racist, because they don't think anyone is listening. They don't think they're being recorded. So in some ways, it's good they were recorded because we got the truth. It's bad they were recorded because now we know how racist these individuals are. And these were some pretty heavy hitters in the Latino community in LA. You know, we had the city council president, Nuri Martinez, who was caught in this. She made some racist comments. I don't want to repeat them, but she made them about indigenous people from Oaxaca. She made them about black children of a gay elected on the city council. So Nuri Martinez was censored, and she stepped down from being president. Wasn't enough. Now she's stepping off the council with a broken heart, she says. Well, broken heart, she broke the trust of people who said, hey, you're our representatives. You're there to fight racism. You shouldn't be racist too, Nuri Martinez. And of course, Nuri Martinez isn't the only person on this call. There was Kevin De Leon, who's on the city council, and Gil Cedillo. These are all, you know, you can put term limits on politicians, but politicians, once they're termed out of one office, they play musical political pose and they find somewhere else. And the good guys do it, the bad guys do it, they all do it, even if they have term limits. They find the loophole. And so you have Kevin De Leon, who was running for he was running for a Senate seat, also running, I believe he ran for governor. Kevin De Leon, a former legislator, now council member, he was in on the call. They did not make racist remarks on the tape, but neither did they speak out against them. Gil Cedillo, who's an assemblyman, or former assemblyman, now council member, once again, he landed on the city council. Thank goodness. They got a job. They don't have to go back to doing what they used to do. But now there's calls for them because they were in on the conversation. They did not speak out to correct Martinez. Now there's calls for them to be removed from the city council because they were in on the call. Now, it's bad enough that Martinez had demands from people across LA and the nation, including Joe Biden through his press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre. But we had the labor leader, Ron Herrera, who he dropped out, he resigned. So the question now is, what happens to De Leon and Cedillo? Well, what does this have to do with Asian Americans? The AAPI Victory Alliance, which is a progressive group that works nationwide, and they have a fund that gives money, and they have this Victory Alliance, which tries to expand political power of AAPI. Well, they're interested in this. Why? Because you have the top leaders in the Hispanic community in on this call, and a labor leader, Hispanic, trying to figure out how they're going to draw up lines. And they say these racist things against a Oaxacan and against indigenous people, in other words, and also an African American. So Martinez has been shamed. She's out. Now they want De Leon and Cedillo. And who's leading the charge? Asian Americans. The AAPI Victory Alliance. This is from Katie Nguyen Calvoda. She says, I'm saddened and appalled by the leaked conversation between LA council members. Our leaders are entrusted to act with integrity and honor. Instead, they have dishonored their oath of office, the people's trust, and the values we hold as a community. There is no room on the council, dais, or anywhere in Los Angeles for this kind of bigotry and racism. That's significant because now Asian American progressives have now joined in this fray. Notice the Latinos rule LA, essentially. They rule LA politics. And there is a Latino Black alliance that controls things. Notice no one says anything about what was said. No one said boo to Nuri Martinez and her racist comments. That's why people want Cedillo and De Leon out of the council. I don't know if that's going to happen, but they want that to happen. Notice who's speaking out. Who's speaking out for Asian Americans? You know, the Asian American numbers have grown. And now LA is a lot more diverse than Latino, Black, and white. Latino and Black fighting the white. It's Latino, Black who's courting the Asians. Asians have been courted by Republicans. Here's a progressive group of Asians who are saying, you got to remember us. And we're aligned now, Asian Black. Because if they're asking for the ouster of De Leon and Cedillo, that's what it is. It's a new Asian Black alliance. And isn't that kind of tantalizing? In a state and in a city where the pecking order is white, Latino, Asian, then Black. In LA, the Asians are saying they're going after the Latinos and they're forming coalition with the Blacks. I mean, this is the politics behind this. And of course, you know, that recorded conversation that was leaked out with all the racist stuff. They're trying to drop new council district lines. And they're trying to boost representation of Latinos. And it would have been to the detriment of Black voters. So that's why this is serious. In the largest city I don't think it's it's certainly the largest city in California, if not the nation. And the largest Asian American population. And then, wouldn't you know, late yesterday on Wednesday, the California Attorney General, Rob Bonta, said, hey, his office is going to look into the city's redistricting process, which took place last year. And of course, Bonta, Asian American, Filipino American, which shows you the significance of, you know, the racial dynamic. You know, all this talk about drawing up lines, yeah, to get, you know, I mean, that's how the racist conversation came up. They're drawing up city council lines, trying to figure out how to get more Latinos elected, not Asians, not Blacks. Certainly to the detriment of Blacks, but Asians were not, they're large and numerous, but a lot of them are in the suburbs. So they are kind of out of it. They're in their own, you know, own little groupings, but they are a force in LA too, or can be. And now this progressive group, AAPI Victory Alliance, is saying, hey, let's have all the Hispanics step down. If all the Hispanics step down, if the president, Nuri Martinez, Cedillo, and De Leon step down, 3 council members, that would make it wide open for democracy. And maybe this is what it takes. Either you get some kind of investigative report that does some cleanup and then voters respond, or you get something emotional like this. And people clearly are responding at least to the resignation of Nuri Martinez. But if you get two other Latinos stepping down, could be a big deal in Los Angeles for Asian Americans. All right, I'm going to step down and call it a day. I'm in this play. I'm in The Conductor tonight, 5:00 Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. It's a reading. It's a virtual reading. It's not a fully staged production, but you'll get to hear the work of playwright, legendary novelist, essayist, poet Ishmael Reed, African-American, former winner of a MacArthur Genius Grant. I mean, Ishmael, for 6 decades, nearly 6 decades, has been a voice for diversity, a voice for multiculturalism. See his take on, all that, recall effort in San Francisco against the school board and the DA. See Ishmael's take is a valuable one because he infuses it with history. It's provocative. You'll learn something. You'll be entertained. It's called The Conductor. Check it out. Theaterforthenewcity.net is where they're presenting it, but you can be anywhere in the country. The stage reading today, October 13th, 14th, Friday, Saturday the 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And then Sunday, 3 p.m., the matinee Eastern Time. Tickets, $18. You can phone 212-254-1109. 212-254-1109. Or just go to theaterforthenewcity.net. Check them out. I've got my small part. I'm excited. I'm excited for it. And I hope you'll join me and catch Ishmael Reed's The Conductor. All right. Regular listeners, viewers to our show know that you can catch us on Facebook, fb.com/EmilGuillermo.media. Also on Facebook Watch or Facebook Live or Live. If you go to Facebook, you can chime in. You could say hello on the captions or on the chat. Also on YouTube. I don't see those until later, but we're live on YouTube, and then you can see the replay there. Also see the replays on amok.com, my website, amok.com. Now, I like to meditate. And because I meditate, I am less amok. I'm just okay. I'm okay. I'm not amok. I am okay. I am okay. As it should be. I've learned a sense of self-control. I have. I'm much not necessarily nicer, but I think I'm less likely to go amok. I'm more likely to just slightly raise my voice. So, meditation, that's what it is. And I always close the show with a little bit of loving kindness meditation. Metta, M-E-T-T-A, not meta, like Facebook, the old Facebook. Metta, loving kindness. And you may have seen this in the New York Times. We were talking about one of the winners, an Asian American winner, who said of the MacArthur Genius Grant, she said, this is supposed to go to someone else. It doesn't go to me. I have imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome. It's bad. If you have imposter syndrome, here is the cure. Self-love. Loving self-kindness. Love yourself. Hug yourself. That's the easy way. And the way to do it is to show love first to others. And then it comes back to you magnified. Funny how that works. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here, back in tomorrow. Same time. We're live, 2 p.m. Pacific. Or catch the replay on amok.com. Till then, mahalo.